I think the success of Time Team was that it was just, nothing else was that kind of fly on the wall, real time scientific process or investigative process of here's the question. We know nothing about the answers yet. We have some documentary leads, but we don't know. And then just seeing that develop over the days. And it started in 93. We didn't really do reality television in 1993, but that's effectively what Time Team was. And we know how popular reality television became with viewers. And it was reality television with brains. I think that was probably the key to it. You didn't know where it was going to go. You were watching people thinking on their feet. They would make their guess about what might happen next. And then if you were lucky, that was what came out of the ground. And if not, then you had to change those ideas. And it kept twisting and turning. And it was real people coming up with those ideas and those decisions. So, yeah, I think that was it. Reality TV before reality TV was a thing. Cameos they were always fun. I enjoyed it when we had a cameo on site, because sometimes you might get to sort of halfway through day 3, and as the geophysics team would we'd be winding down then, because even if we did find something amazing, it was too late to put a hole in it. So quite often, Tim would say, right, okay, we're pretty much done with you now. So we could use that time to go and have a look in the trenches, compare, the data directly to what was in the holes, or go and have a look at what the cameos were doing. And the two that stick in my mind, and I can't remember where either of them were, but one was a trebuchet. That was just awesome. Throwing watermelons around in a trebuchet. That was good. And then the other one was where they built a hypercourse system, Roman hypercourse system. And then someone came up with this great idea. They'd read that you could cook an egg on a really efficient hypercourse. So they'd laid it out, they'd got it fired up, and they cracked an egg on it. Now, I can tell you this. If you find watching paint dry a little bit too exciting, you want to watch an egg cooking on a hypercourse floor, because, you need more than 3 days, basically. There was, Time Team was, for us, I think I speak for everyone when I say it was as much about what happened off camera as what was happening on camera. And there were a lot of there was a lot of misbehaving. There was a lot of Mickey taking. There was a lot of wind ups. And there was some great, really big pranks. And I am sure other people will have picked the big ones, like the fake magnetometer and the fishing trip and stuff like that. But for me, it was just kind of the stuff that happened every shoot, just the little stuff. I remember once there was a Land Rover mountain bike had been supplied with the vehicles, and Stuart was it was his baby. He loved this thing. He was riding it everywhere, looking at the lumps and the bumps, and he lost it on one shoot and didn't know where it went. And for the end scene on the shoot, we quite often had a cherry picker to take the camera up nice and high, and Stuart's standing there going, I still haven't found my bike. And behind him, this cherry picker's going up and his bike is dangling underneath it. There was an incident with quite a lot of hazard tape, which I probably can't talk about. But I think one of my favourites was, again, it's just something stupid and small. But I remember filming the kind of end piece to camera at the end of, I think it was Stilton, where the whole thing was, the kickoff for the episode was that they'd found a cheese press, maybe a Roman cheese press. And so the cameo on that one was making Roman cheese. And so on the very last scene, at the end of day 3, where we're doing the big sum up, we're all stood in a group behind the main players talking at the front. And I'll be honest, this cheese was disgusting. It was really horrible. And I was stood in the kind of back row, and Steve Thompson, who worked for Wessex, and he did a lot of the recording of the trenches and then the report writing for a lot of the shoots. We became friends very quickly, and we've stayed friends ever since. But he was stood directly in front of me. And what he was doing was every time the cheese came to him, rather than eat it, he'd take a piece off the plate and hand it to me, knowing full well that if I take it in shot, then I've got to do something with it. And so he thought this was hilarious because he was like, there's more of the horrible cheese, more of the horrible cheese. But what he didn't know was I was taking the horrible cheese and putting it in the back pocket of his very baggy shorts. And I assumed that as soon as we'd finished that scene and we all walked away, he would realise that he had a pocket full of cheese. But he didn't. And day 4 is always the reinstatement day. That's where they finish the recording and put all the trenches back. So he wore his shorts again that day, and it was a really, really hot sight. And he even then drove all the way back to Salisbury with this. And so it was only when he got out of the vehicle and there was a slight greasy patch on the seat and a very greasy patch on the back of his shorts that he realised what he'd done. And I got this, slightly irate, but also slightly laughing message from him to say, I've just found all the cheese in my pocket. Thanks, you. And then you can beep the next bit out.